Hang on, there's a little bit of a lag. I don't know where that's coming from.
It's coming from us being on either sides of the Atlantic.
Is that my mic on your side echoing? I think I hear my voice.
It might be. Hold on. Let me see if
Yeah, it's
I can plug in. I'll tell you why. Yeah, I wasn't sure about coming through my phone, man. Let's see what happens when I do this. Let me plug in a microphone.
It's a little delay too, I notice.
How's that? Better?
I still hear us behind and a little lag. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, well, no, that doesn't make sense now because there's no way that the microphone can be picking us up because it's coming through my headphones now.
Let's see here. I mean, so far. You hear that? You hear that? You hear that?
No, I'm hearing no echo. Interesting stuff for anyone watching us. You and me talking about echoes. Let me have a look at the.
We're good. This is the best part because no one's around yet. They'll hear it later.
Let me try.
Looks like we lost you.
I'm back.
Yeah.
And that didn't make any difference when I plugged my headphones in.
You sound good. Actually, yeah, I don't hear it now. All right, cool.
Cool. Yeah, I went out of the app and came back in. Turn it off and on again. That's always the
shut
trick,
it off.
Huh?
Yeah, try that with America. See if it works.
Well,
Jesus Christ.
There's plenty of people over there trying that. It looks like to me.
Oh man, another topic. All right, so
if you and I get into our Fred Hampton mode, it's going to go off in another angle, isn't it? So let's stick to comics.
We could do a part 2 on another day. For sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh God. All right, so yeah, man, I got a ton of fucking ground to cover, man. So
just shoot.
All right, so well, we had spoke a while back when I was trying to get the book, and I was just happy that it showed up. Yeah, man. I think it was my friend Brian Mossy who did a little recap during one of his lives, and I didn't realize the magnitude of the project until I actually saw him flip through it. So I was like, it was on my to-do list, but then when I saw the book, I was like, Jesus Christ, this shit was ridiculous. So
yeah, man.
Let me ask a couple questions before we get into the goodies, but like I did a little. Yeah. Yeah. That's why I definitely wanted to get you on and do this, because I think when people see it, and believe me, there's no shortage of like art books and shit like that. Like, no, I don't need another book in my life, but this was definitely something I had to get. So
well, you say that, and that's exactly where my head was at with it. It was just like, nobody's asked for this book. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm sick of the like the fast content culture that we have. This is like, if you're going to ask people to spend this amount of money on a book, you better be giving them something like that's quality on every level, like production level, content level. And it's something you can keep returning to. I just wanted to over deliver with it.
Yeah, I mean, and the logistics is just making a book and like what you got packed in it and everything. It's really impressive. And you got some different categories of tiers, I guess you could say. So
yeah.
And I noticed that seemed like the most confusing part for me as the buyer. So maybe you just give a little quick breakdown of like the options. That way people understand like the price points that they're getting and what they're getting in the book.
Yeah. Well, so you've got the deluxe there, and that's like that's the mid level. That's so I'm not sure what that is. That's like, how many bucks did you pay for that?
Damn, I forget. I don't even remember.
It's it's like it's different price points, right? Depending where you buy it, because obviously Amazon, they discount things just so they can kill small businesses.
Yeah, that's another thing. I was trying to hit you. I hit you first. I was like, what's the best way to get money in your pocket? What's the best way to get it in your pocket? But, yeah.
Well, it's also about getting money into small business owners' pocket, isn't it? So if you can pick it up from your local comic store, then that's the ideal, isn't it?
Yeah.
But obviously that's not achievable for everyone. So look, that I think that starts at in pounds. I think it's around £80, £70. So it's around $80, I think. But then it's discounted. That comes in the slipcase, as you can see. It comes with 3 prints. That Giclée prints in a sleeve, and that's if you go through those, that's so that's but Jamie did a print in, oh god, I don't know, he did a few prints with Banksy. Banksy used to run these Christmas pop-ups called Santa's Grotto, and he did one called Kid, and that's the original artwork that's based on. So I really wanted to reprint that because it's the originals for that are now going for 3,000 on eBay.
Yeah, so there's a little backstory to that. That's cool.
Yeah. So and also I there's actually 5 prints you can get, and I'll talk about the 5 that you can get with the Super Deluxe. That one there of the freebies is actually an artwork that Jamie did for production on the pilot that we did with BBC.
Yeah.
So that was the freebie serial, which was in the show, was called Smack, Crack and Plop Plop. Very sophisticated humor. and then
there's dedefinitely something about his work.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, we've been, we're old friends. I've known Jamie since 1988. I worked with him.
Yeah, so that's going back far, man.
In lesser capacities during the Deadline days, and then I was his right hand man for the first phase of Gorillaz. But I'm saying all of that to say I'm a fan as well.
Yeah.
It's I've put this book together as well because it's a lost. It was a lost Hewlett artifact. And I just wanted to put it back out in the world. Apart from the fact that I'm a co-owner of the IP as well. And then the third print with that as well is the work that Jamie did for the book, which is just called it's called Silver Jubilee, because it was done for the 25th anniversary of the property, which was a comic strip that originally ran in an English magazine called The Face, and that's it's like a dramatis personae of all of a lot of the friends and foes of Terry and Whitey, who are the lead characters, the eponymous Terry, Phoo, and Whitey Action of Phoo Action. So yeah, that's the middle tier.
Okay.
The deluxe comes in a slipcase. The books got so the book itself. Both books you get on the tiers are the same book. They're silver gilded edges. They're cloth bound. They've got a UV gloss overlay print on. They've got all the bells. I mean, it's just I was like, what print techniques can I go for with it? It's silk screen printed on the spine.
It's really overdone. It's so overwhelming, dude. I can't even because I'm going through the book process now, so I'm sort of I'm diving into all the bells and the whistles and what it takes, and just to see this with some ridiculous amount of work going into it. So
and I originally talked to Alan Martin, the writer of Tank Girl, about ways to do this, and because he's done Kickstarters, self-funded things, and he was like, put it out yourself to start with, then license it to a publisher, that way you sell it twice. What I had in mind I think maybe if I'd have if this was my not my first book that I was looking to produce myself, maybe I'd have had a go at it, but there was just so much I had in mind for this. I just didn't, let alone handling the production on this myself, let alone the fulfillment. I was like, no, I need a publishing partner on this, and you can see why with the quality of the paper stocks.
Oh man!
And of course, this one's got different these deluxe issues, this deluxe and the super deluxe. It's got different paper stocks in there. It's got gatefolds.
Yeah, I mean,
so then the super deluxe edition comes with more extras. I think I can get my super deluxe down to show you if you'd like.
It's up to you. I mean, I got a shitload of questions before we get into it. I just wanted to touch.
Exactly. So
I just wanted to touch on like what the options were for people to know.
So there's two, and then there's so that one is like a large run, the deluxe.
Yeah.
Then there's a limited edition run. There's a limited edition run that's by Jamie and myself. It's got an extra tip in.
I saw those. That's on your site, right?
And
that's on your site.
Yeah, and available through Titan, through Forbidden Planet in the UK,
gotcha,
and through Another Universe in the US, which is their US
distributor.
Distribute, and so that's there's only 500 copies of that.
Yeah,
so it's a collector's piece. Yeah,
that was.
But that's it's, and then in October, a standard edition is going to be coming out.
Okay.
So you're getting the first news of that. You're hearing it here first.
So these are that's a good little. Hopefully that could penetrate more of the because I mean these are the tiers.
Yeah,
these are the collectors tiers.
That's the mainstream market. Yeah, that's exactly what they are. And they were, people have been like, why didn't you bring out the standard edition to start with? And it's like following more of an old school publishing, route where the hardback comes out first, and then the paperback comes out later. Although the standard edition isn't going to be paperback, it's still going to be hardback. It's still on high quality paper stock. It isn't on different paper stocks. Like in this version, when we get to it, you may see that the TV pilot script is on a different stock, and it's going to have no extras.
I got you.
That come with it, and the super deluxe has got more prints with it as well. 5 prints with that.
So I saw that.
You're getting a super limited run, and that so that covers off the difference between the tiers.
Gotcha. So just a little backstory, because over here in the States we didn't catch any of this stuff. Like I'm a fan of Jamie. I'm a fan of Jamie's work just through the Tank Girl era, and then obviously through Gorillaz later on. So there's correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm just kind of like putting the puzzle pieces together myself as like just a guy on this side of the pond. So the Face was the magazine that had these were monthly, right? These were like every other couple months when they came out. Okay, it was monthly. And there was like there was a couple pages in each issue, right? Like this was exclusive. So because I looked these up on eBay last night, and these are not cheap.
Well, they won't be over there.
Yeah.
Here they're a bit cheap. They're a bit cheaper. Like I need to get a new copy. So I've got the full.
I don't care. I'm not so much for
this first
mint conditions shit. I'll just take it like raggedy. I don't care. But
yeah. This first one was like 11 pages, but then the rest of them ran for like 4-page, 3-page hits.
Yeah.
He'd done Tank Girl: The Odyssey for Dark Horse.
Yeah, so I got this OG. The Deadline stuff. Yeah.
I mean, if you got one OG Deadline.
Yeah.
That's Deadline number 1.
Those are goodies. There you go. Yeah, I saw you picked up a stack. I saw you picked up a stack a couple weeks back, and I was like,
man. Well, I'd own them. Obviously, I'd had them all because I was part of that
era.
scene.
And
then I had a bit of a brain fart. like I carry I've moved so many times. I've carried so much physical media around with me. I was just like, I'm fucking getting rid of these. I don't need these anymore. And as soon as I did it, I was like, what the fuck have you done that for?
That's funny.
And then obviously, like, there's a collected version of Get the Freebies as well, but it's only in Spanish.
Oh no!
So this is about
I think I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. So that was one of my. That was there you go. So that was one of my questions. Like, what was the reasoning? Because I mean, he had already been established in the comic the market. You know what I mean? Like, what was the allure to getting it put into something like this? Were you guys getting a paycheck from the face to be like a little visual eye candy of the magazine when it was coming out?
As I was alluding to, Jamie had done those Dark Horse comics, and it had been bit, it was handled like any commercial comic. It was I don't know how many pages like a monthly comic is. It's like I'm not a superhero comics head, so I couldn't tell you. But he was doing it, and so he was penciling it and inking it, and then it was being colored by someone else. And I just think it just Jamie's work is like them, he inked them.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look like you. It was more into just controlling the whole process, it's like being
I mean,
that was the allure of it.
As a real artist, I think I've learned you got to control your media. You can't have people telling you how to do coloring. I get it. I totally get it. That's one of my questions was it hard to kind of like recreate the markers that he was using, because that's not your go-to color method, but like as an artist, obviously that's the look you want. Like I saw he was doing like acrylic white highlights on the tops of the markers at the end. Like I totally understand what he was doing. I was just curious, like how hard was that to recreate and capture the coloring and all that,
What do you mean?
At the time, comic books goes through eras of like brand new scanners in the mix, and like at a point where you were taking pictures.
How was it hard for them to reproduce it? Well,
replicate it.
What was happening was it was bit so I mean, this was it was an industrial printing process, so they were drum scanned.
Okay.
So what the process that Jamie did was he he would ink a page in black and white,
photocopy it. Yeah.
So that'd be like he'd do it up at like that size, which is an original Tank Girl page, and then he'd photocopy it onto artboard.
Yeah, that's a lot bigger. That's a lot bigger than I thought. I knew they were big.
So this is the size he'd then photocopy it to.
Yeah.
And this is and then he hand colored it. When you look at the back, look, that's where the spirit markers have bled through.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And as you say, it's like then on top of that, he's using like
just to
sometimes
catch
a whiteout pen, so but, and bringing a pencil into it as well. It's like no one's going to replicate Jamie's color. Like there's a great cartoonist kayfabe when Jim and Ed, God rest his soul, are talking about.
Shout out to Ed. I think that's how I found each other.
Shout out to Eddie P. Yeah. It's that he's talking about that exact thing. He stops on one of the panels and he's talking about just how it's a shot at the door of a nightclub, and the light is is coming out of the back of the nightclub, hitting the back of the bouncer's head. Here we go. It's this one. He talks about, and he's just saying, it's like something we've all seen, but you wouldn't make a choice to color it like that. And it's such a you know, and if anyone hasn't seen that, it's when Jamie's Taschen monogram came out, and we, you know, and Ed and Jim went through it, and there's a great, you know, introduction to Phoo in that.
Oh yeah, see, I got this little guy over here.
Yeah. I've not seen the little one. I'd love to have a look at one of the little ones. I need to have a flick through.
It's still great quality, still great. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to. I mean, we could talk about Jamie all day. I wanted to pick your brain, believe me.
Yeah, man.
So, damn. I mean, see, Ed and all that. You kind of you derailed me with the Ed thing. I think that's where I first noticed
Sorry
you.
about that, man.
I first noticed you. I think maybe in the comments, and I was like, oh shit. And then I started following you, and I was blown away because I was kind of like sourcing my own like quality control, and I was like, this guy's stuff is great. And then I took a little dive down what you were promoting, and you know, we were talking behind the scenes for a while. So
yeah, man,
a long time coming. But I mean, let me just flip through shit. I mean, oh yeah, real quick, what was the choice of the three colors? Because there's clearly a color palette story here going on.
Four colors. So it's CMYK. So
yeah. But I'm saying, like,
what
was the reasoning to stick to that? Because it really is a theme. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I wanted to pay on. I wanted to have like a sensibility to the design that had that had an archival feel, because in one sense it's a, you know, it's a curation and it's an art book. So I wanted something that spoke to process in the design, but I wanted it at the same time to be like, so there was a balance. I wanted a balance between archival and play.
Yeah.
So I wanted so it had a real pop element to it as well, as in pop art, because you know that
it's
regurgitating or
yeah,
recycling pop culture is a big part of mine and Jamie's process as well. So I wanted to reference that in the design architecture. So, and also, so, you know, down to the choices of the fonts and the colors, those I was sort of referencing pop culture, but also culture of the 90s as well.
Yeah, that's cool. I noticed there was a bunch of rejected layout pages prior to things. What was that about? Was that like an editor telling you to do it, or was that Jamie saying I want to try different angles and stuff? Like, why was there a whole bunch of pages rejected?
It was pure. Jamie didn't like. There was editorial at the place, but the editorial was encouraging. It's like like Richard, who was the editor at the face, pushed Jamie to be more scurrilous and more scathing, like really to turn that part up. They certainly weren't rejecting anything. It was Jamie trying to find his way, trying to find, like, you know, like anyone trying to find the tone when they're doing a piece of work. And I think if you look at that,
there was like panels rearranged, and it's like, it's just the delivery of the story, which is like, I totally understand reanalyzing.
I think if you look at that,
it's just
if you look at those pencils, they feel that they're closer to Tank Girl, and Fireball. Maybe they're more detailed. They're and it's also I think he was just trying to find, like, Jamie, as anyone who's a Hewlett fan knows, that when he does, like, when a new piece of work comes out, he crystallizes a new style. And that style then progresses. Like, you know, that happens with every phase of Gorillaz. But you know, I think you know that there's different Hewletts for every piece of work he's done, and I think he was just finding himself in that. And this is just a pull back of, you know, this is a peek behind the curtain of the great and mighty Oz. You know, it's like Jamie. I think you look at his stuff, and it feels, that's the page I was just showing you. Huh? It feels so, you know, clear and effortless that you wouldn't assume the perfectionism and the reworking. But you know, sometimes he threw, you know, sometimes he would you throw finished pieces away. You know, there's torn up pieces there that have been saved. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
it's like,
I totally get it, man. Trust me, I get it.
so that's what it was. He was finding his way through it, and it just didn't meet what he wanted to do. I think it was a combination. It wasn't just the artwork, because I think the artwork's, you know, is really astounding in that rejected stuff, which is why I wanted to show everybody. But it's also the storytelling. I think he hadn't found the characters, and if you look at, I think the rejected pages are actually two different passes on the story.
Yeah,
and it's
totally.
got different characters in there as well. So he hadn't found. So I think he did a pass, and then he changed what the freebies looked like because he didn't like their character design. And then it was the writing was different. And so it just took him a while to get there.
Yeah, no, I was just interested. I was interested if it was like somebody at the top saying, "No, we got to change it." I was like, "Why would they change this?" But yeah, it makes sense now.
No, and that's one of the reasons. That's another reason why he was, you know, why was he doing it at the Face magazine? It's because he wasn't under like there wasn't an editor like there might be at, I don't know, you know, one of the big, you know, like if it had been commissioned by DC Vertigo, just for sake of argument, you know, it's like he wasn't having to answer to someone telling him no, not that, not this, you can't say it. It was just like it was his, you know. So no, that definitely wasn't the case.
Yeah, that's another reason why I was curious why it never came out. I mean, aside from the Spanish issue, but like why it wasn't a physical comic book and it was in the Face magazines, because that's like
it was a bit.
Because I feel like that was when I found this, I was like, oh, this is a missing piece between Gorillaz Tank Girl. That
that's exactly what it is.
You know what I mean? And so
it takes it's got some of the energy of what had been before, and it sort of gives you a preview of what's to come. A lot of what was what Jamie did, and then what we did together with Phoo Action bled into the pop culture satire that was the beginning of the tone of Gorillaz, you know. So that's definitely. But the being in the Face magazine was. So I'm trying to think what the American equivalent would be, like Details magazine.
Yeah, I was trying to think of something. I couldn't think of one, but it's definitely. I could tell by the covers, like, you know, like even if American actors made their way onto the covers of the Face, I was like, oh, this is that kind of mag. Very cultural, very pop,
it was the magazine to be.
Yeah.
It was cool. We called it a style Bible. So you know, it's like anyone under sort of like early millennial, and you know, young millennials, Gen Z. You got to remember, we didn't have there wasn't the internet. Like this magazine, as crazy as it sounds, was our internet. You know, and it was the first. This was the first publication that ever pulled together music, film, literature,
fashion,
art,
fashion.
Before that, they were all separate. They were all the streams didn't mix. So this was the first magazine that did that. So for Jamie to be in there was a stamp of his cultural significance. It wasn't like doing 2000 AD.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Which is cool.
In its own right, in its own world,
in its own right. I don't want to denigrate. I'm not denigrating 2000 AD. It's like
sure.
If there wasn't 2000 AD, there wouldn't be a Jamie Hewlett. You know, it's like, and all of us this side of the pond.
This was a breakthrough in culture, and you know, a stamp on, like, you know, style and quality.
It says he's a different kind. He's a cartoonist.
Yeah,
but he's a different type of cartooning. You know, it's like it's a cultural artifact, and that's why I wanted to bring this book out. You know.
Yeah, I mean, dude, there's so much to talk about.
And treat it with that level of something so silly, and you know, outright scurrilous and stupid. Treat it with a level of seriousness that the craft deserves as well.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's just such a stylistic color palette and aesthetic. You know what I mean? It's got, like you said. I realize every one of his projects are different, but this definitely has its own look. You know, and seeing what you said, he's trying to find the voice of this particular project makes sense why he would go back in and
And I think as you go through the 12 issues,
yeah.
the style changes as well.
Of
Like
course, yeah,
I
of
think
course. It's
like what he's doing in
gonna evolve. I mean, that's just kind of how the nature of it.
what he's doing what he's doing in July '96 is still a lot more detail. It's got a lot more. It becomes more and more graphic as you go through it. By the time you
Yeah,
get to, it gets this really stark graphic quality to it. That's that's really stunning by the end. The difference.
yeah. Like even this episode 8 just looks like it's got the whole black and white movie kung fu film.
The black and white. So the 3-part episode, the 3-part story, the incredible journey to the center of Steve Lamacq. Yeah, like Jamie. I mean, he was known for his black and white work, right? It's
Sure.
like his Tank Girl work.
Yeah.
That use of Letrotone, that really stark black and white delineation that he uses, that really sort of references artists like Mick Mahone, and also Mike Mignola as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can see those references in there.
Yeah, there's
So
a
I think
lot.
he really,
There's a lot of
getting to
little,
play with that. Yeah.
now
Getting
this
to play
is
with that was a thing for
now
him.
it's considered nostalgia. I mean, I use this stuff just to have the look,
Sure.
because I came up on the '80s, the 80s comics, and everything's digital now, which is kind of like I just can't stand a lot of it. So it's nice because this is '90s.
I know comic artists who are going,
Yeah.
who are going back to working analog again,
Yeah.
just because of the feeling of it and the quality and
Sure.
the different type of mark you make, and also having artifacts to resell as well.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah,
in
yeah.
this age.
Yeah, I mean, we could go on forever about just the industry, but that's whatever. But yeah, let your tone. So that's we had in the '80s we had this thing called Zipatone, and so
Zipatone, yeah.
yeah, so let your tone, and then now I think it's called the hell's it called? The leader. I go to Japan and I come back with like
You can
10
buy it still over there, can you?
yeah, like 10 pounds of this shit called the leader, which is
Yeah. So over here, like this is mine from when I was at design school in the late '80s. So
oh
yeah, you
wow,
could.
that's
So look,
great.
you could. So this is a catalog which like you could buy.
Yeah,
So you couldn't like fonts weren't digital. Like
yeah.
these were dry rub down fonts, but also in here you could buy.
This is my stash. Yeah, same
You
shit.
could buy. You could buy. So yeah, you can buy patterns and yeah. So so
This is the same stuff.
here
But
we
it's
here we
just
go. Here we go.
yeah.
So here's the different grades of tones you could buy as a sheet,
Yeah.
like
So
you got there,
you would
and
order
then
in
you'd
the
stick,
mail.
as you know. Yeah, no, we just go there. No. You could you work out what you want, and then you just go to the store and buy
Oh,
it,
okay,
like
okay.
the local art
Yeah,
suppliers. And obviously, then you stick it on you stick the whole piece on the page, and then you scalpel out the bits you want,
yeah.
and you peel it up.
Yep. Yeah, I love it. I just for me, I came up on that like
All of these,
dirty.
all of these are done. All of these are done
Yeah, I came up on the
because
dirty
I've retouched them
comics.
digitally.
Yeah, I mean now it's just like
Yeah, that's the way,
finding
isn't
the
it?
look. Yeah, finding the look and shit. Which
Yeah, well,
you don't see it in
some of them we.
you don't see it in the color. So yeah, it's definitely the black and white stuff from like
Oh no, there's no tone
Yeah. Yeah.
in there that show you what was
Yeah.
like when it was coloured.
Oh
Not
yeah.
not the
The
comics,
two
but in some of
versions.
the other.
Yeah, this has a washier kind of watery colory vibe, a little different style.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, let me see. Damn, there's so much. I mean, even with the pilot and everything. So this, just to jump ahead for people who don't know, this eventually it got pushed to a pilot, and then it had Carl Weathers, rest in peace to him.
Yeah.
So I read that it was pitched for 6 episodes, but then it got canceled right at the last minute. Like, what happened with that? Like, the
So
pilot's up.
yeah,
You can see the pilot online.
Yeah, I've got it on my Vimeo channel. The best play, like people always say, go to look at it on YouTube. But if you look at any of my socials, I've got a link tree.
Okay.
And I've got it. I've got it on my Vimeo. I think on the States you can watch it on Amazon Prime actually. So
Okay.
Speaking about Uncle Jeff again. Let's not go there.
Well, should we go to your Vimeo, or do you want people to stay away from Amazon? You know, what do you?
No, yeah. So you can watch it. Yeah, so you can watch it on my. I mean, I don't. It's like it's I don't know. I mean, I've put the script in, and you know, the second half. So the first half of this book is the comics. You know, well, it's not the first quarter is the comics. The second half is a prose novel that I've written, and then the third quarter is the pilot. And that's got all of the. Well, that's got all of the production. So there, you're looking at the script there,
the
and
storyboards.
Yeah, and you can see that's on a different paper stock. We printed that on a stock that's more like a stock you would get the script, like the script was printed. So I published that because I wanted people to to read it and be able to, because I think when you know a director, you're looking at their interpretation of the text. You know, So what I'd envisaged wasn't what happened on the screen, you know. And again, it's like kind of like saying what I was saying about the colorists on Tank Girl: The Odyssey. I don't think I think it's like the Tank Girl movie. These things got picked up because they were so culturally hot, but they were a little bit ahead of the time, you know. It's once Kick-Ass got made, and where we are now with Deadpool and The Boys and Happy, you could see that's like you know, it's like I've said before, I feel like that Leonardo DiCaprio meme when I'm pointing at the screen in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, you know. That's what I had in my mind, and that's what we tried to communicate. But the director was an award-winning Doctor Who director. The DPs, you know, the only frame of reference people had for comic book adaptations at the time was the 60s Batman. So it's got this cat, you know, we were like, no, that's not it. But it's like we weren't making it. So again, we kind of fallen foul.
It's gotta be so hard to like want to find the look, and it just, I think, you know, not to veer off, but I think Gorillaz was a good delivery method for translating his stuff into like a more visual movement. I think it does something does happen going straight to a film or, you know, real life kind of thing. It's tough.
I think you could do I do feel like I love live action. Like I'm outside of putting this stuff together. I'm an independent film producer. And I do think there's a live action version of this that could be done. But I think I think, as I said, like the references that I've given, Kick-Ass, Happy, Preacher, The Boys. I can see a version of this with properly animated Looney Tunes style.
Yeah.
Make sense to make.
Yeah, somebody has to pull it in and understand it. You know what I mean? Ahead of time. Can't change it. You gotta. Yeah.
But yeah. But certainly anime.
Yeah. Oh no, I mean that was just one of the vehicles I thought worked incredibly well. But I mean, like I said, it's ahead of the times in a sense. So like maybe the mix of like live action with animation and playfulness with the costs that it takes to make it happen might not be here yet. But I mean, you know, you can't hold it. You know.
It's it's an interesting process. So those sketches you're looking at there aren't Jamie. That's Philip Bond. And for people who don't know who Philip, I don't know if you know Philip. Philip and Jamie were in the same year at
Uni.
At art school, and Philip was also one of the. So Philip did what? So this is Deadline #1. Philip did a strip called Wired World, in Deadline #1. So they were at art school together. They did a fanzine together called Attentan.
So they're all
Philip,
old buddies.
Yeah, we all used to live together in this small seaside town where I'm back living now for this period of my life.
Where's
we went
that?
to art school here. It's a little town called Worthing. It's along the coast from Brighton. You've probably heard of Brighton.
Yeah. I mean, my girlfriend's from over there, so I know I've traveled over there.
Yeah.
She's from up north. See, I know you said seaside town. That's why she's from Blackpool, so that's why I was asking.
Nice. Yeah. So Brighton and Blackpool are very equivalent towns. Like Blackpool is the Brighton of the north, or Brighton is the Blackpool of the south. It depends where you come from. Which version of that is sacrilegious or not? So yeah, we were up the coast from there, and we all lived next door to each other. We all shared rented accommodation together. So Philip did work on the original Get the Freebies as well, because they would ink each other's stuff, color each other's stuff. So when it came to doing this prose novel, which is what the part you've got to now. So what happened was Jamie did the first 12 issues for the Face magazine. Then he took a month's break, and he was going to do a second season of stories, and he asked me to write those with him. But then there was an editorial change at the Face magazine, and they decided they didn't want comics in there anymore. So we'd written this whole 12. So the first season of Get the Freebies, which is what Phoo Action was called, they were more one-shot stories. It was more like villains of the week type TV stories with a general art. The characters didn't quite reset. They did go forward and get to a season end.
But there's definitely new guys introduced for sure. There's new introductions.
Well, at the end of the first series of Get the Freebies, the freebies die, and they're sent to hell after wreaking havoc in heaven. So Terry and God and Jesus and Whitey send them off to hell, but they've blown up. They've set off a nuclear device in the centre in King's Cross in London. Terry's Buddhist faith is shaken by meeting the Jado-Christian, by meeting Yahweh, and has gone back to Tibet to realign his chakras. And
perfect.
And at the same period, Whitey wins the national lottery, which was just new. It was a new thing at this time, so that was quite a topical thing to put in. She's become a multi-millionairess, and of course, like you don't, if you're a junkie,
that's becoming a last thing.
It's a curse and a blessing. So she's hideously off her face, and Terry's not around. And a whole new slew of supervillains take their place. And we wanted to so instead of telling us a villain of the week story, so we'd written all the parts for that, and I still had the scene.
This part, this whole section. Yeah.
Okay,
so this wasn't in the Face. You were kind of holding on to this till the book came out.
This was it was never published. It was supposed to be for the Face, but they cancelled the second season, and we didn't want to go to another publisher because it wasn't supposed to be it's like the expanded as I've already gone through.
But dude, this was sitting. But this was hidden for like 20 years, dude. Like
25 years.
Yeah, how are you guys sitting on this? Like, was it just like pushed to the side? Like, life's going on.
The thing is, as well,
we're moving on.
Well, the thing is, as well, it wasn't just lost for 25 years. What you're looking at there is restored color Xeroxes, because we left the original artwork at the Face magazine and disappeared.
Oh no!
So I've restored that artwork. The black and white artwork still exists. So I've layered. Done is I've printed the black inks as process over the top, and then we've restored the artwork. We've done Photoshop processes to the Xeroxes to bring them up and to balance the colors and to make them not look like Xeroxes. So it's a big restoration process you've got there, as well as re-letter. I mean, as we re-lettered all the comics as well, because they were all done by hand, and Jamie was always
this is more, I guess.
He was always dissatisfied with the lettering.
That's my issue now. Is like, how do I do? Do I do by hand? Do I do it later in Photoshop? Like, I saw,
So
you got
we've
font.
done for this, we created a font out of his original lettering, so it tidies it up a bit. So then you can type it in for each. So there's two for each.
I saw that.
Glyph.
That was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Where's it at?
Or one's more expressive and one's tighter. So the font's called Hewlett. Keep going. Yeah, keep going. I know where it is.
I wanted to ask you about that, but obviously it was not pressing. Damn. There it is. Yeah, so
that's Helvetica, and that's Helvetica block. That's the regular version of the font.
And now this isn't something that you can get. It's not like you could use this, right? This is just something you guys made for yourself.
Yeah, we made it. I've thought about making it
I mean, just on the just as the indie comic dudes out there would love, because like for me, I'm a graffiti writer. I love handwriting, but like even writing.
And as you can see, there's a third font there which we used to. So if you look at the lettering if you go back to the myth, the Buddhist myth, that lettering's different as well.
Oh yeah,
so we created that font. That's
very lowercase. Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah. Maybe that's something. I mean, I haven't released it yet because I've made soundtracks.
Yeah.
So if you go on my link tree as well, there's a soundtrack that links to all of the Get the Freebies comics. There's a soundtrack that links to this prose novel, and then there's a soundtrack that links to the music from the pilot as well. So as I was saying, then I decided what I'd do for this book is I'd finish this story, and I was originally going to write it as a novella. Now a novella is like 50,000 words. I wrote the first chapter. The first chapter came out at 3,000 words.
Yeah.
The chapter just kept out that length, like naturally.
Yeah.
Well, so what I did was I took Jamie and mine's original story outline, and I photocopy of our story outline. I went back to that, and also I went back to that, and I was like, okay, what's in here? What works? What's missing? I've used every chapter of that originally because it was going to be told over such short episodes. Storytelling. A lot of people are kind of and with Gorillaz.
Sure.
They don't necessarily. It's like not necessarily a perfect interconnecting, ongoing linear narrative. Well, actually, what I wanted to do with this novel was okay. There's these things that have dropped out. There's these characters. There's these ideas that have been put forward. Let's.
Yeah.
Some of them are. It was purposefully edgy. It was purposely. that's so I went back to that, and it's like, what are the implications of that? What does Whitey think about that? What does Terry think about that? What happens if that information gets out into the world? They have to struggle with it. So I wanted them to become, obviously, when you're writing a novel, you're having to go into the characters.
Yeah. Yep.
Would often say to me, but why do they do that? And my answer would be like, well, they do that because it's funny.
Yeah.
As a comedy. Well, actually, when I was writing the novel, I really wanted to do that. It's like, how can I balance out playing their actions and their choices out while still maintaining the satire.
Yeah, it's tough because you want to be whimsical and artistic and not have to have a voice in your head of like, oh, we can't do this because the guy's gonna ask me about why is this. It's like you want to plant seeds and just move on and be fun.
Yeah,
And it's like it's a weird
yeah.
thing. It's almost like what we say here, like, oh, Hollywood ruined the fucking story. Like Hollywood always gets in and just you know Disneyfies things and like ruins shit. It's just like I just want to do something.
Well, it doesn't just Disneyfy it.
Yeah,
You look at what they did. It's how many years it's taken. And I don't give a shit about Wolverine,
yeah,
but how many years it took them to have him in a yellow costume,
yeah,
because apparently you couldn't do it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's like, so he had to be in black leather, and it's like
yeah,
he couldn't wear a cowl, and it's just like,
yeah,
fuck, you can trust it. It's like,
yeah,
I never got it. It was like, well, you never saw. It's like you didn't see Darth Vader's face until he took his helmet off, and
yeah,
then it wasn't James Earl Jones. It was some
yeah,
bald old white guy. I mean,
yeah.
go
Humpty
figure.
Dumpty, Humpty Dumpty, egghead.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so funny.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it's like, you did, I didn't care about not seeing Stormtrooper's eyes, Darth Vader's eyes, C3PO, all of
Yeah.
that. I didn't give a shit. So there was a real lag for that catching up. I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's also too when you're writing stories that are going to be a universe you're going to unfold. You can go in any direction. Like, you could pick any
Yeah,
character
yeah.
that you could always resort back to one of a whimsical thing and be like, "Oh, we're going to do a whole thing on this guy or whatever." And so,
So like you just pointed at you. So we did that. So that page you're looking at there. So that's exactly what I did for the novel. I went back,
yeah,
and so where I could expand the novel, it was like, oh, okay, I want to go back and I want to look. So there's a character on here called Rome Martin, and he talks about defeating the Fantastic Four on the steps of Napoli, and he's a bullshitter. He's not. Is he a supervillain, or is he
snake oil salesman.
delusional and
Yeah,
hasn't taken his meds? And that's actually
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, there's just so much to look into. It's very, very, very complex. So like even just from the outside, just glancing in, it's like it's overwhelming. So there's so much packed into this book. That's why I
well,
wanted people to see it. Like you got it in three
that's what I want.
sections, but still there's just so
It's
much.
somebody sent me a panel the other via my DMs on Instagram. They're just like, at the moment, they were like, I'm tripping out over this panel. And it's like,
Yeah,
I've been doing that. Like I started putting this book together 5 years ago now, and
yeah,
I'm still finding new things in the panels. Like Jamie layered some, and I wanted everyone. I wanted it to. I described it. I did it when we had the book launch. I had to do a little ident, and I had to come up with something on the spot about why I'd done the book. And I was talking about revisiting the layers of it, and there's layers, but there's layers of love that I've put into it. And it's like, I wanted people to. It's like, you're spending this much money on a book. I'm not interested in fast culture. I'm not interested in just putting something out there and people
yeah, and
having a
that's
flick
just
through.
so
No, that's
current
nice.
too. Everything's fast
I
culture.
can't.
Like, yeah,
I can't stand it. I can't stand it, and it's just
yeah,
it's because it's industry led. It's artist led.
yeah,
It's like, so what how can we reduce it to the bare minimum to make the maximum profit out of it? And it's like,
yeah.
it's all just empty. It's just empty shit.
It
And it's just
sucks.
like, this
Yeah,
stuff. This
it
stuff is the
sucks now.
antithesis of that.
It sucks
Yeah,
now
it's
because the quality that it would take to do this now, it's just like you can't even survive. Like
Yeah, but I've done it now.
yeah,
I've done it now. I've put it back
yeah,
out now. You know, it's like
yeah,
no,
yeah,
you can't survive. I've not. It's not like it's not. I haven't done this. You know, it's like people. I guess people are looking at it and go, "There's a £350 version of the book," but it's like it's only so many people. You know, it's like there's 500 of
yeah,
those. And it's like once
yeah.
this was an expensive book to put together.
Yeah, for sure.
You
Yeah,
know, it's like I hired a whole production team on it, you know, and
yeah,
that's without then Titan them producing it, you
yeah.
know. So yeah,
And you know,
certainly
I noticed over here anyway. I mean, I think like it was Eddie and them talking about it, but like over here, it's it's not really seen. So like, I got
no,
friends and stuff, and so I wanted to kind of use my little platform to kind of just shine a little
no, I
light on it
appreciate that. No,
because I
I'm
know a
super
lot of my
grateful.
guys, the people that are into my shit, that don't know about this kind of stuff. It's just like I love
Mm.
finding something new that I'm just like, that's what I'm talking about. So that's why
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wanted to chop
Well,
it
no,
up and just
that's
get it,
it.
see what you
it
got,
it didn't appear anywhere. I mean, as I
Yeah.
said, it had this, it had this Spanish reprint, which was
Yeah.
done, in 2007, but it's never been reproduced in English before, and it's never been seen in the Americas. It
Yeah.
wasn't published in Europe. It was just a British publication that came out monthly.
Here
That
we
was
go.
it.
Here we go.
Yeah, man,
Yeah, there's a
that's the
lot of
Gallagher's Island.
yeah, there's a lot of goodies in this book, man. Like it's just so much. If if anybody is going to watch this later, you got to pick it up. It's definitely one that don't definitely one to for the collection, whatever tier you pick up, but I mean, you could just spend hours and hours just diving through it. Like you said, some guy just picked out one panel and just sent it to you. It's like really overwhelming.
Yeah, and we haven't even got past like the second quarter of it yet. It
Yeah.
then, the second half of the book is all about the TV adaptation. And you touched on it, it was like there was supposed to be a series, but
Yeah.
there's a pilot first of all, so it's got all of the
Yep.
production matter from the pilot.
Yeah.
Philip did some amazing illustrations on that novel. It's really lovely to get him back
Yeah.
interpreting it.
I wanted to ask you about that.
Um,
I'm glad you picked that up on your own because I was like, well, I don't think Jamie was drawn digitally. I was like, what's this all about? And then you said it
no, it's
was,
Philip.
yeah.
Yeah, it's Philip Bond. Yeah.
Okay. Oh man, all the set and
So
everything. Yeah.
so you've kind of gone back to this to the series there.
Yeah.
So that yeah, you're in chapter 4 there, which is about so that's where they built standings. So after the pilot got commissioned,
Yeah.
but then it's got this repetitive energy, this IP, this project, these characters. The BBC commissioned it
Six piece, right?
as a series,
Yeah.
six episodes, yeah. But then the commissioning editor changed at the BBC. A woman called Jane Tranter had commissioned it. She went off to work at HBO, and a guy called Ben Stevenson came in, and it wasn't to his taste.
Yeah.
And he cancelled the series 2 weeks before it went into production. Ben Stevenson's now head of TV and film at Bad Robot.
Yeah.
And it's just I don't know what his view of it would be now, but I think part of me, and I've said this before, I kind of agree with. I think it was like for me, the pilot wasn't quite the right. It wasn't bad. It was campy. It's
Yeah.
not. It's like it's like the Tank Girl movie in
Yeah.
some ways. It looks the part, but it's hit and miss.
Right.
I
Right.
think the
Right.
series was going further and further, and
Yeah.
it would have been his own thing. So feels like I dodged a bullet, it not coming out. At the
It's
same time, it was a big hit. It,
that's a mature view, and it takes a little bit to see it like that. Like some of the stuff translates great, but then like some of it, like you said, just comes off campy, and it's just maybe it's not the right time, and maybe it could be revisited.
I don't. But
You
I
know,
also think if you read the script, it's not written. The script isn't the same. It isn't. We wrote.
they changed
It's
it.
cut out. It's
Yeah,
cut out all the. It doesn't have the swearing, but there wasn't swearing on TV at that time.
sure. So now,
That was
yeah,
just what that
exactly.
was what. But it still has the same tone. It's still. I think it still has that we maintain. Well, we couldn't not. We're the creators of it, so it maintained the
Yeah,
tone of
it just
comics.
feels
But then
it just I want to see
it
it like
felt it.
I want to see it gritty like a '70s kung fu flick or something. With you know what I
So,
mean?
like, yeah, I've said before, like, we kept saying, look at Adam Yock's videos.
Yeah,
Look at,
yeah,
what
yeah, yeah.
Nathaniel Hornblower is doing. It's like, if it looked like body moving or intergalactic,
Yep.
it would have been spot on.
Sure.
And now that's a bit like, that's been done. People have done TV shows like that, but nobody had
Yeah.
done anything like
Yeah.
back and making it, because that was the point. The people look at it and they go, well, the freebies, they look like, they look like the banana splits, but they look out of place because it's not filmed that way. But that was the point. It was supposed to be funny. It was
Yeah.
intentionally funny what the characters look like. But then the way it was filmed like it was filmed like Doctor Who. The
Yeah.
director was an award-winning Doctor Who director. If you open that out, that opens
Yeah.
out so you can.
Yeah. I'm just. I don't want to like distract you from talking, but I'm just show visual stuff.
Yeah, no. So
Yeah,
yeah,
like it can be done. It can be done, but maybe it wasn't the right
yeah,
time.
but it,
Like perfect
yeah. So
example,
then,
like the Deadpool comedy is on purpose, but it's funny and it's not. There's a way to do it. That's all I'm trying to say, and maybe it's just the right director, the right symbiotic
it's
relationship.
also the difference of what this was before the golden age of TV. People weren't spending multi-millions on
Sure,
per
sure, sure, sure.
episode of TV, and so to create it, to do it, it needed a higher, but it needed a cinematic budget to
Yeah,
realize it. Or if you're going to do it like I'm saying, like a Beastie Boys video, then you could do it. But that, the BBC were like, well, that's not what the BBC looks like. It has to
sure.
look prestige, and it's just
Yeah,
like, well, it's there were too many cooks. It's like, there were too many cooks. It was coming through. It was us filtered through other people's lenses. Filtered
yeah,
through this Oxbridge lens of the BBC, as well as a prestige our drama TV director's view of it. None of those things are bad things, but it's not our thing.
yeah. Well, now it becomes kind of folklore, and then it gets a little
Yeah, and
cult following.
it's a camp cut, and it's the first touch point that a lot of kids have for it. And like the
Yeah.
Tank Girl movie, like,
Hmm.
I know it makes Alan groan when people say they love the movie, but people love the pilot as well,
Yeah,
for the campiness of it, and I get that.
yeah, yeah. I think the first like 5 minutes opening is the most amazing part for me, and then
Yeah.
it kind of veers off, but like it's
It goes up and down from then, doesn't
yeah,
it?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But I mean, that's just the challenge of the director trying to capture what the original history of it is and
yeah,
stuff. And again, it's black
yeah.
and white, so how do you know what it looks like? And the actress at the time, I think she was good, but it was just like a little campy. But I mean, maybe she was cast on purpose like that. Like it's kind of how she was.
She's good. Yeah, Jack.
Yeah, that
That's
chick. Yeah,
Jack. That's Jamie. That's Ray Winston's
yeah.
daughter.
Okay.
And I think she was a good. I mean, she,
She was playful. Yeah.
Jamie in real life
Hmm.
is Whitey Action. Like, you just
Yeah, yeah,
go
yeah.
to her Instagram page. She's we're still. Oh, Laurie Petty. Yeah, yeah, that's what I was saying. I was like, I kind of think Jamie smashed it. Yeah, Laurie Petty Laurie Petty is her and Terry. Laurie Petty, who played Tank Girl. I just think yeah, that's Laurie was great. And again, like, I mean, I was on I went out to the set of Tank Girl a few times, and I think Laurie really loved the Tank Girl character and really
Yeah.
got into the skin of it. And I think, again, it just got studioed, it got MGM'd, it got
Yep.
90s. Yeah. No,
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean,
Yep.
yeah. But I mean, as you say, it's like, I think when we cast Jamie as Whitey, it was like her casting tape. We just looked at it. It was like, we just don't have
Perfect.
to. It wasn't. We weren't going to see anyone else. It was just like, she
Yeah.
turned up, and she was like, she. I think she had a pair of shorts on, and she was sort of like squatting in the chair, and it was just like, fuck, it's Whitey,
Yeah.
yeah. And she
Yeah.
lives and breathes that. She's just. She's still, she's a mum now. She's married. She's still DJing though.
Yeah.
She's still out
Nice.
there.
That's what's up.
Yeah, she's got a series she's filming at the moment, I think. So yeah, she's
And so, Carl
Diamond.
Weathers, like, that's crazy because he's, an American actor, I think, right? Or is he from over there? I think he's from America. Yeah.
Carl, Eddie
So he
or
just passed away,
Carl?
Carl Weathers.
Yeah. That man, massive fan of Carl
Yeah.
from obviously from being Apollo to being
Yeah.
to being in Predator,
Yeah.
being Dutch in Predator, all of that. I mean, just we did
Huge. Yeah.
both me and the producer were massive fans of Carl, and we sent him the script. Just like, who would you like
Yeah.
to play it? And like getting him to getting his yes was like an amazing moment. The first time meeting him was brilliant as well.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
imagine.
he was such a gentleman as well. He's amazing to be around.
Yeah, solid. Man. Oh, so I noticed it was dedicated to Carl, and it was also dedicated to a David Goodall. Do you want to speak about that? Who's David
Yeah,
Goodall?
so David died the same year
Okay.
as Carl died last year, and he's so there's a lead bouncer. There's if you go through, I can find a picture of David. David was one of the stuntmen on the show. And it turns out that I've got a independent production company now, and it's like small world, isn't it? The guy who was actually the line producer on the series was a production partner of my business partner before I met her and started a business with her. So on the bottom corner here, there's this shot of that's David there. So that he was the lead henchman for the freebies. He was a Scottish stuntman, and he was a friend. So my business partner's Scottish. She knew him, a director that I'm working with. It was one of his best friends. So yeah, it was just a personal dedication to a friend who passed.
I just wanted to give a little chance for you to talk about us.
Yeah. There he is on the bottom there. Yeah, there's David.
I was curious. Yeah, shit, man. I don't know how long you wanted to chop it up, man. We can keep going. I just was
If you've got more questions, I'm here.
there was so much.
happy.
So you spoke about the black and white art disappeared. What the fuck happened? Like, was it just somebody snatched it, or it just got lost in the office? Like, you had to reproduce it from the photocopies. Like, that's
so
like
there's a couple of pieces went missing. That gatefold that you showed, that you opened, the Gallagher's Island, that piece of artwork was stolen from the offices. Jamie gifted that to the Face magazine designers, who were massive comic. They were massive champions of it. I think one of the reasons the comics ended up in the Face was because they were such fans. Like,
so that piece is out there when it pops up online.
Somebody stole. You hope it's framed on someone's wall somewhere.
You hope.
Rather than ending up in a skip, as happened to countless comic pages, right? Or dumpster. But yeah, those pages.
Yeah, that's like
Jamie left them at the offices, and just by the time we followed up, no one knew where they'd gone. Yeah, man, just like.
But I mean, at least the photocopies, you had the black and whites. You could go back and reverse engineer it.
I had the color copy, so they're color Xeroxes. Yeah, I had so I've got a set of color Xeroxes, which is what you're looking at there. I don't know whether Jamie had a set of color Xeroxes. I might have the only, like if I hadn't have kept them.
Yeah, who knows? That would have been.
Yeah. So that's my first. So these here are the color Xeroxes. That's the color Xeroxes right there.
You have that's in the book, actually, the little binder.
Yeah. And that's the story treatment I was telling you about.
Okay.
So that's the only if I hadn't have kept hold of that story wouldn't exist,
That's tragic.
There's no way I would have remembered that story outline.
It's like hearing about all the Jack Kirby art that like disappeared over the years.
Exactly.
It's where is it?
It was thought of as this worthless throwaway art form, right? It was for kids. It wasn't of any value. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, you know,
Kids
pop
on
art.
field trips are
Pop.
coming through and taking whole pages, Jack Kirby pages home, and
Yeah,
getting.
yeah. Jamie's
That's
artwork
crazy.
from The Office as well.
Yeah.
You know, Jamie would. Yeah, yeah. He would. You know.
So as a art collector, I'm a big Bisley collector. I'm friends with him now, but like, since I don't know,
Brilliant.
since maybe 2003, I've been trying to get my hands on Bisley stuff. So like, he's over on your side of the pond.
Brilliant.
So it's very hard to get that shit. And like, so even now, like just looking up Jamie's stuff, I realized like, there's not much out there as far as like personal collectors. There is, but it's like
Yeah,
it's in holy grail collections. Like it's not they're not letting it go. And if you see a piece up, it's like the prices are pretty.
Yeah, yeah. So I've got, I've got,
You gotta.
my own collect.
I'm
Yeah,
sure
I've
you're
got my own
sitting on a
collection.
bunch.
I've
Yeah.
shown you a piece. I mean, this isn't. Yeah. So this is in the book. This is like an unfinished pencil, partly inked early Terry and Whitey sketch. And
Oh
I've
yeah.
shown you that page earlier
Yeah, that's
there.
in. That's in. Yeah. Yep. That's great.
I've got, I'm going through this. I've got, I've got Jamie's all sorts of period. This
Yeah, I'm
a
sure.
piece. It's a Gorillaz piece that was done for the US release of Tomorrow Comes Today, I believe.
That's gorgeous.
So this is a later. This is a Phoo Action. So this is the exploratory work Jamie was doing for the story that we were going to do. This story that I'm talking about with you. The Phoo Action. The second part. Is this kind of Liberatore inspired
Hmm.
Whitey with this character, this blue Ben Grimm character, a guy
Yeah,
called
yeah, yeah.
Bill.
I didn't want to talk about it.
Um,
I didn't know. I don't want to talk about it unless you
yeah,
brought it up. It's totally,
yeah,
yeah. It feels like a British blue Ben Grimm kind of character.
yeah. Well, Jamie was sort of riffing a lot. It was like that. It is a deconstruction in a really
Yeah.
in a subtextual way of superheroes. Like Terry and Whitey are superheroes, but
Hmm.
they're like ground level, street level superheroes.
Yeah.
Um, she's actually, as I've said before in other interviews, the first few issues she started off actually having Captain America's shield, and
Nice.
that disappeared after the first couple of episodes.
Okay.
And I say, and I sort of talk about why that happens in the novel. I come back to all those sort of things that Jamie starts with and then
Yeah.
disappear and never referenced again. Yeah, so
Yeah. So, let me ask you, what was okay? So, Gorillas came on after this, but like you were also tied to that. So, like, what did you have to do with that? What was that? What was your? What was? Because here in the States, we just know it
yeah,
as like the visual element to the band that didn't really want to be seen, and like the videos were coming out, and Mhm, mhm,
on the visual side, and Damon working on it. And it was a way to it was the story goes. Jamie and Damon lived together in an apartment on Westbourne Grove.
mhm.
They'd both just come out of relationships and were having a bit of a bachelor
I
moment. It
I
was a
got
bit
you.
um, it was basically there was a period where it was an open door party for a whole summer. It just became, like places just become the spot for a little while.
Yeah,
Their
crash
flat,
pad.
their apartment became, it wasn't a crash pad, it was a party spot.
Oh,
Like Friday
oh,
we'd go out and we'd buy just a shed load of spirits, set a bar up, and people would, we'd go out, we'd go to a nightclub, and then everyone would come back and we'd carry on.
I got you.
Um,
After party.
but
Yeah,
but but yeah, yeah. It was a summer long after party. I'd known
yeah.
Jamie since '88. I was living in London. I was living around the corner. So I was there all the time. And if you're a creative person, if you're friends with other creative people, and pretty soon you start talking about creative ideas together. This is the way
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
that's the way your brain's wired. You
Hmm.
start talking about ideas together. And the mythology is that Jamie and Damon, they had a big plasma screen TV, one of the first plasma screen TVs. It was like this, it was like this thick on the wall. They were watching like MTV, and they were just endless. Probably would have been In Sync or something. So whatever manufactured band it was at the time, and they were just coating it off, and it was like, we should make a band. We should make a band. But the whole point of making that band was to satirize that idea. So it was a pop culture and music industry satire. So it wasn't about them hiding behind the characters. It was about it was more like,
I think that turned
a
into the
way
mystique of it
to
later. Maybe the mystique of it was all like what happened here.
and it was a way for them to do it. It's like, so if Damon's the musician and Jamie's an illustrator, then it was like,
Hmm. Yeah.
they're too genius. And Jamie, obviously, I'd been supposed to been working on Phoo Action, the second season of comics, with Jamie together. We had a long short, a long professional and personal shorthand by that point. So we were also developing. The reason Jamie had asked me to work on the second season of the comics with him is because I said, look,
Mm.
the
Yeah.
the journey I'd go on, and learn the reason things are the way they are, were the way they were. But I'd worked on all of that with him, and we were still developing it as a TV pitch.
Okay. Okay.
Are those there?
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
not
just.
sure where they are. You see that, you ask, why did we do that CMYK as well? It's in reference to this original work that we've done. So it's part of the. So this is what got, in the end, got the BBC pilot commissioned. Is this
Nice. Nice. Nice.
this pitch deck?
Gotcha. Gotcha. Gotcha.
So we'd worked on that, but then Jamie was like, "Look, I've got this idea with Damon. EMI have given us a deal for it. Come
Hmm.
and work with me on it. We're gonna,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be, he's gonna be drawing it, but it's gonna need this whole immersive world. The internet was just happening then,
Right.
so the job that I was given was to realize the Gorillaz website, with the thing that became Kong Studios.
Okay.
So it's like, talking about artifacts. I'm gonna show you something here. This is I've got an original Gorillaz sketchbook here of Jamie's. Here's this. Anyone who knows anything about Gorillaz, the website was their music recording studio, and you could travel.
That's crazy. Yeah. So.
That's the character.
So
Oh,
fun.
oh man, that's the character for Noodle.
Yeah.
That fell over because my ring light. Yeah, so I was on. So Jamie brought me on board for that first. So I worked on the first release cycle, from it being an idea and it just being demos, to it then, going all the way through to being collected on a DVD. The
Yeah.
final
The
rounding
evolution
up
of
of the whole thing.
the evolution of
Yeah.
it is, it's kind of cool if you watch it. I look back at it now, just kind of like, let me go back and look at it, because what it looks like, me first seeing it for the first time, and then how it sort of evolved over the, its journey, and it
Mm.
found like its lane. You know what I mean? It got like, it was simplified in the beginning. Like, just doing the animations must have been a big heavy lift, just trying to.
for phase one, because
Sure.
he thought that would make it, because he wanted it to be hand animated. He didn't want it digitally animated, and he thought like taking it. So he was like really went. His frames of reference was like Hanna-Barbera.
Sure.
So he really took it back. So he really simplified his line, and then he realized, oh, actually, it can be more like my style. So the phase two, the animation style became more complex.
Yeah.
And then obviously he went on and later did 3D with it. He's a different. We'll see what he does with. They've already announced. There's. I was chatting with him. Text. I sent him a happy birthday message. It was his birthday.
Yeah, like
this
2
week,
days ago.
and
Yeah,
it was like I was. Yeah. And he was like, I was working. And I was like, yeah, well, welcome to the joys of being in your 50s.
Yeah.
But, so it's like, it's great. That's if people want to know, Jamie's, is busy working away on the new artwork for whatever will be released in, I guess it's going to be released like 2026, isn't it? I know Damon said the album's finished, but that's going to be, that's his recording's done. There's a whole design. Yeah, it's a whole cycle. And whether he means it's recorded, whether it's mastered, where that's at,
Sure.
whether he's still got some vocals to put on it, whether there's some guests to come in, who knows, right?
Yeah. Well, it's good to hear. Yeah, I was curious. That's one of my things I was going to see. Like, what's he up to? What's going on these days? But yeah, it's good. That's cool.
So yeah, I was part of the original crew
Cool.
at the beginning. I wrote on it as well. So I developed the characters. We had Jamie had he had top line ideas of like Murdoch's a bassist.
Right.
And it was like bring them to life in magazine articles, interviews with the band members. But I was also the band members online live. So in chat rooms on the Gorillaz website, it was me chatting as all four band members. And then we had the voice artist as well, who then became the personifications. Phil Cornwell is obviously,
okay, cool,
famous for being Murdoch.
I love how the little buggy was like the toy on the desk. At the little toy, use them as references for the drawings and stuff like that.
So that the one you've just shown there, that's that one. That's there you go. Let me take the roof off. There you go.
Yeah,
it's in the same position as you've got there.
Yeah. That's great.
And then this is the one that's the Phoo-mobile.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's so funny.
Yeah, and so Jamie had these on his desk, and it's like if you look at these any angle, like if you look, so look at the back of the Phoo-mobile there, and you look at that angle of the.
Yeah.
It's like it's so that what the car next to it. It's exact thing, and that's the back of that one.
Yeah, no, I get it.
And there you go. There it is.
It's just,
yeah, he was just.
It's cool to see like the reference and shit like that. And I mean, it's all this is in the book for anybody that wants to go look. But I mean, I imagine this little guy was floating around too then. This little car must have been.
That one. That's that one. Look at the top.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah.
I'll put it in the I'll put it in the the mirror angle's frying my brain. There, you've got to move it in the opposite direction, old man.
Okay. That's it. Yeah,
there you go. There you go. I've got it. There you go.
Gotcha. Oh yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
And so they're like Matchbox cars, old Corgi cars.
Yeah, that's just something great. So, what are you doing these days besides from obviously the promoting?
So I'm working on.
You still writing
the standard edition of this that's coming out. I'm gonna I'm going through it. I'm gonna amend it a little bit, so it's a different. So that you're So again, the easy thing to do would just be to publish this version of it. And just sell the same thing for a third time.
But why do anything easy?
Well, but also why just like offer something. If you're putting something out, it's like it's 2 years after that one's come out.
Yeah, so you gotta find something.
I'm going to change it a bit. I'm also what I'm doing for the release is what I'm currently doing is I'm running a competition.
Yeah, I've been
A fan
noticing it.
art.
I've been seeing that. Yeah.
So I'm running a fan art competition, and the prize is that I'm going to select an amount of art. So I'm going to condense some of the page. So there's in the book, there's like some big double page spreads of the storyboards. I'm going to take those out and I'm going to condense the story. I'm going to give myself. It's going to be the same page length, but the book's going to be the same page length, but I'm going to condense some parts so that the deluxe versions, if you buy, you're getting more, you're getting an expanded version. But then if you buy the standard version, you're getting more at the back. So I'm having a
more
new
content.
end word
More
written at the
content.
beginning.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, different content, and it's going to be a reflection on what it's been like putting the book out. So the forward in this book, the preface is written by a really renowned British journalist called Miranda Sawyer, who wrote on the Face magazine. She was a Face magazine journalist. So that first piece is written by her. The end, I got interviewed for the Comics Journal, and the guy who interviewed me for that, it's a big sprawling interview. If this isn't long enough, if you want to read more about the process and what all of this is about, the Comics Journal put out this definitive interview with me. I'm so great, I'm honoured and grateful for them to do that.
That's dope.
He's going to write the end word. So like looking at what it, because he's the same as you. He'd not come across this material in such depth before because he's an American. So he's going to give his reflection of what it means putting this book out at this time, rather than me, because the book's my whole reflection. There's three different layers of writing in the book. There's there's like this part you're looking at there is my forward, and that's more playful, my voice about how this whole story started. And then each chapter's got an introduction, and I tried to write that more in a still playfully, but more in an objective, curatory, historic way so you get an understanding about what was happening in this part of the process and the life cycle. So you get insights into how things were done, what was happening around it, what the influences were, what was happening. And then of course there's the novel that's written. That's obviously a completely different writing style.
Sure.
That's taking the tone into prose format.
Gotcha. This is comparable.
So I'm doing that, and
the amount of stuff in here is like it's comparable to like any of these Akira books with the animation cells and the storyboarding. If you've picked any of those up or seen those, it's just like there's just so much content to it. I mean, this is not like it's not like a book for the lighthearted. This is definitely like a thick quality book,
Well, I think the subtext that we've been discussing is that this property, this beautiful work, this fun, complex, layered, important point in Jamie's career and my career kind of got fucked out. It's been fucked over in multiple different ways. So it is like one thing. I was like, and I didn't make this book. I didn't republish it, and I didn't make this book for years because I was like, if I'm going to do it, it's got to be done properly. I can't be compromised. I've been compromised with this too many times, and it was like. I've used this quote before. There's a guy called Dieter Meyer who was in a band called Yellow, who are a Swiss electronic group who are like contemporaries of Kraftwerk and Devo. Sort of sits in the middle of that, but and he said, it's like you've got to do. I'm paraphrasing here, but the point is that it's like you've got to do things your way. Because if you compromise and do what you're told and it fails, you're going to be bitter. If you compromise and it succeeds, you're always going to doubt yourself whether it was truly your own success. Whereas if you put out if it's just truly your vision and how you intend something to be. Then you live and die. You're out there as this is what I intended. This is what I wanted to do. It says there's no regrets, right? Even if you fuck it up, if you're just wildly deluded and you know, like American movie, the thing where the guy's making that film called Cover. I don't know if you
No.
know that film. He's just deluded, but he's so passionate, and he just follows his vision, and he makes this piece of shit film, but it's his. So it's like, you know,
I mean, there's a beauty to that too. I mean, beauty in you know.
Yeah, there is. There completely is, right? It's like, you know, like the best pieces of art are just are distant are
a pure self-portrait of the person, I think, you know.
Yeah, a product of someone, you know, of someone's
Personal look and view, their vision.
and their worldview. It's a distillation of your personal of your psyche, of your understanding, of your experience, and you're putting it out there, and you hope that you're capturing it,
appreciated
so clearly that it's like, although we're all different, you know, we all have such differences, we have a shared humanity, and if you communicate your individual experience clearly, it's going to be, people are going to go, oh shit, you feel like that too.
I mean,
you know, the more personal you get, the more universal things become. It's a real paradox there.
Well, look, man, I could talk about this shit for hours. I don't know, you know, I don't want to keep you on too. I know it's late over there.
Yeah, it's been great, man. It's been great. No,
bro.
it's not super late, but yeah, I mean, anything. If you've got any, if there's any final question you've got, if there is anything you're like, oh, we didn't cover that, that's cool. I mean, or if we've done it, that's cool too.
Just as, like, you know, an adult artist that still loves the comic medium and like the art in itself, like, I know you have the book format. I would put it out there, like, at some point maybe try to put it out as actual, you know, comics, you know, like, so people can pick them up as just like, you know, small, read them on the train kind of things.
This is definitely like a big
you know, just
bells and whistles. There's nothing in this book, there's nothing else in existence that isn't in this book, but and I wanted to do that, but yeah, I could, no, there's I would like to put out the comics just as, you know, like the English version of that Spanish print. I would like to just, I'd like to put my novel out just as a novel, you know. And also I've got ideas for new comics as well. So I'd love to carry those. I'd love to carry those stories on.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, you know, Tank Girl is still, I mean, you know, it's going with different artists and everything. So
I'm talking with another artist, and I've got ideas about a whole nother like 12-part year-long story cycle that could be, you know, brought together, not graphic novel size, not like, you know, but more like, you know, like that European size. I don't, you know, like
like
Tintin or Asterix, or you know, that, you know, that they're sort of thin, but like you know, it's like a movie narrative, that sort of size, you know.
I got you.
But we, you know, do that over 12 parts. We're discussing that at the moment. Best ways to get that out there.
Yeah, I mean, let this marinate and get more of a fan base just here in the States and stuff like that. It'll help fuel that later, you know.
You're all of it, having these conversations, you know, you showing it to your audience,
sure.
Then, you know, getting it out there. That's it. That was the point of putting this, you know, or putting this out there again as well. It's like this is a lost IP. We need to put it back out into the world and just begin to, you know, let it just happen in its own way as well. It's not like it's like my job, and I'm like, you know, needing it to be. I'm doing it because I love the characters, I love the IP, I like working in this format. I do other things as well, as I said before. I'm an independent film producer. I should be. I'm just closing finance on a film now. Should be shooting a film in Wales in June.
You want to talk about that? What's that about? Is that a little under wraps, or is that something you want to talk about?
No, it's been announced. It's a revenge thriller. It's set in Wales. It's with an old friend of mine, a writer director called Joe Mark Antonio. It'll be his second feature film. His first feature film was called Kindred. It actually had a US cinema release. It was put out by IFC. Yeah, it's a good film. He's an interesting. He really loves genre, but he subverts genre. So like you think you know what you're going into when you watch his films. His first film Kindred, you think you're going to be watching like, oh, is this like Rosemary's Baby meets the Birds? You think you know what you're going, and then it becomes something else as well. He's an interesting writer who sort of while he meets your genre beat expectations, he subverts them as well.
Nice.
So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I'm gonna
cool.
have to take a look. I have to take a look now.
Yeah, and so this film we're going to be doing is called Uncle, starring a really great up-and-coming young British talent, a guy called Michael Ward. He was in a series called Top Boy.
Oh yeah, I love that series. Who was he?
So I'm not sure which character he played in Top Boy, which is embarrassing to say. I should know that as a producer.
I mean, it's like eight seasons. I mean, it could be any. Any season.
Yeah. I was about to look on my phone, and then I can't because I'm talking to you through it. I was about to look on IMDb. So yeah, his name's Michael Ward. He's got a big feature film coming out this year as well. So it's great timing for us to get him.
That's cool.
Yeah, he's a super talent. When you see him, you'll be like, oh, it's that guy.
Yeah. Perfect.
Morfydd Clark is in it as well. She's in the Amazon. God, Jeff Bezos is getting a lot of props in this. I can't stand the man. Lex Luthor of our time.
There's a couple of them actually, but yeah.
There's a few. There's the Brainiac. There's all. There's the Red Skull. Look, we can get into all of them, right? It's like Jack Kirby was like looking into the future, wasn't he?
Yeah, seriously, man. Jesus.
Totally. She plays Galadriel in the Rings of Power, so she's an amazing. So it's a great up and coming cast we got in it.
That sounds great, man. That's another thing. I was curious about what you do, outside of this and
story. The thing that the thread that goes through all of it.
Story.
So obviously I'm a graphic designer as well. So I designed this book and it's all storytelling. For me, it's all just about.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to, dude. I think all the people, the kayfabe guys, everybody's just loves the storytelling vehicle,
Yeah.
And this is just a visual element to storytelling, but and you and Jamie's mesh together works so good, and
and Gorillaz was another way of telling a story. It was told over different media. It was told through through the internet and through magazine articles and music and live shows and illustrate. How can you tell us? How can you expand a world? How can you tell a story? What ways can you do it? It's like whatever you're doing, you're telling us. We all tell stories. We all tell stories every day when we wake up. We retell the story of ourselves, right?
Yeah, and movies and stuff. It's all like the way it's going, and just different ways of telling a story. Whether it's just text on a page, or if it's visually drawn out, or if it's a film. I mean, it's just different voices to be found to tell what you want to tell. But yeah, man, this stuff blows me away, and it was really nice to find it and be able to take a dive. And like anybody who really is into art, and like I come from comics as a kid. I'm heavy in the graffiti world, and I'm known for that.
Yeah, I know you. Yeah,
I've always had a love for comics, and during COVID, I found the kayfabe guys and Eddie, and I took a dive back into my old comic books and shit, and then looking at the industry now, it doesn't do it for me, man. It's just like I hate the shiny pages and the fucking tiny fonts and the zillion different stories. It's just too much, and it's just like who needs to just chop up more forests for fucking comics and shit? It's just like I want to see that old dirty.
There's a reason the young.
There's a reason
the younger generation. The younger generation like manga, it's like it's still pulpy. You can still die. It's like there aren't, it's not like you've got this ongoing impenetrable story world that you just don't know where to start with. It's like those stories stop and they start. Like stories have beginnings, middles, and fucking ends. It's like just don't overcomplicate it. Stop trying to reinvent the wheel. It's it's amazing. It's a complex, deep visual storytelling, but it's pulpy as well. You know, it's like if you get it right, you can bring all of those things in. The best artists do. You know, Alan Moore's storytelling has all of those things in them. It's like and you know, it's like the kayfabe guys were. You know, we're really. Nothing's filled that void. You know, like that insight they were giving into mainstream and indie comics. You know, I mean, I'm really super. You know, I was talking like Ed had the PDF version of this book, and you know, they were going to be doing an episode on this, and it was so his excitement for, you know, I don't know if you ever got to speak to Ed, but his excitement,
we were friends. I was supposed to go to Japan with him.
You said, of course, you said, his passion was just fucking real, man. There's a reason why he was the man to do those X-Men comics. Why he was the man who did, you know, his hip hop stuff. I fucking love it, man. You know,
I got all the stuff here. It's all over here. I got all the shit signed up and everything. And you know, he came to New York and we met and stayed in touch after that. And you know, it's. I don't want to go down. He was. Yeah.
No, we're not going to go down. We're not. I mean, it's enough to say it was a fucking tragedy. And it's like, but you can imagine the conversations we were having about this stuff. He loved Jamie and how excited he was for this book to be coming out. You know, and it was connecting with him. You know, it's like, you know, lots of people have done things. You know, reconnecting with the industry. You know, lots of people have helped me in the industry. You know, when I start my early years. You know, this is an original Brett Ewins piece, which was a cover for an English comic. This is all hand painted gouache.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you what that was. That's crazy.
So this was a cover for a comic called Strange Days.
Crazy.
And Brett was the original. Brett and Steve Dillon started Tank Girl, Deadline magazine, and these people, you know, these older comic book artists mentored me when I was a young kid. And I mean, they didn't have to give me the time of day, you know. And it's like that's what they've done, and what Eddie was doing, and what I try and do now as well is just be there for the next generation of artists. You know,
well, it's cool to see you collecting art and stuff too on the side. I didn't know like what your interest in the background of all that stuff was. I have tons of like original Bisley work and stuff, and like old Marvel stuff.
Wow, what stuff have you got? Have you got here? Have you got like Slain and?
No, I don't have Slain stuff. I have so like I said, early 2000s, it was really hard to get stuff. So like I was getting whatever I could. I don't know if you can see some of this.
It's Batman. Yeah.
Like I have.
I absolutely can.
Prelim Doom Patrol stuff. Like, you know how like Jamie would photo.
Yeah. So
how Jamie would photocopy and then paint the photocopy. There was like there's always been like two versions of Bisley's stuff, like a painted version and maybe like a prelim. So I would
an original black and white. Yeah.
So I would get like whatever I could through the years. This is some Simon Coldwater stuff from Heavy Metal.
Amazing.
And like, you know, these pages they're painted and somewhere in some collections you cannot find the pages for sale. So just through the years, body count.
Jamie's got like this. He's got all the black and white. So many of the black and white pages like this of the original Get the Freebie stuff. That's beautiful, man. Yeah, I mean, my first introduction to Simon's work was 2000 AD. Was his Slain work.
So you know what's funny? I talked to Simon about Jamie because, you know, I've been to England a few times and I've tried to like rummage through like comic shops and try and find more of Jamie's stuff because it's not really, you can't really get much of it out here.
No, you can't. No.
I mean, there's tons of stuff. I don't want to take up the time, but like, so like, you know, I'd be out there painting in London with some of the local guys
doing graph. Yeah, do you know?
Yeah. And I'm like, yo, what's up with this dude Jamie? Did he ever write graffiti? Like, he's your age. Like, do you know what about him? And they'll tell me, you know,
graph. No.
Yeah, no, I was just curious, and then so I asked Simon. I was like, yo, do you know this? Because there's like old Simon's Bisley stuff around like the Lobo era where he was doing black and white, like dirty black and white. It just looked very
stuff was brilliant. Yeah.
It looked very punkish, and it almost sort of seemed like they're both sort of like, you know, different versions of each other. But like,
yeah, really hand done ink splats on it. Yeah, very visceral. Yeah, no,
like,
there was a punk. They're the same. You know, it's like that slightly older than me Gen X punk influence, right?
Yeah, he said he did know Jamie, and that Jamie had
Yeah,
at
they
some
knew.
point
Yeah,
asked him about doing something with the Gorillas, I think, and I
that
don't
was it.
know.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah,
He did.
I
He
remember
said,
there being conversations about that.
yeah,
I'm surprised. Yeah, yeah. No,
yeah,
he probably talked to him about doing some stuff for the Gorillas art book. I mean, it'd
yeah,
been great seeing. It would have been great seeing a Bisley version
yeah,
of the
because
band.
his Gorillas at that, he's done Gorillas through the years, and they're always just kind of a nice take on animals and
Yeah.
shit like that. It would have been cool. Maybe it's still a potential out there.
You
It's
never know. You never know.
yeah.
He might be talking about something that we're going to see next
Yeah,
year. Who
we
knows,
may
right?
we may be putting some planting some seeds here. I could talk
Yeah, I
to him.
love it.
I talk to him on like WhatsApp. We do like FaceTimes and shit. It's strange because I like the 14-year-old kid in
I
me.
never met
Yeah,
Simon.
he's
I
a
met a
lot to
lot.
take in. He's a funny dude, man.
I was around. I know a lot of. I went to the comic. The
Yeah.
UK comic conventions in the late '80s and
Okay.
early
Yeah.
'90s. So I knew Glenn Fabry, Steve Dillon.
Yeah. Yeah. Fabri's
I
great.
met. Yeah, yeah. So but no, I never met Simon.
Yeah,
Um,
he's a little more. He's a refined. See, for here, his humor in America is either like you hate it or love it, and like every time I'd
I
see,
should imagine it's. I should
oh
imagine it's the same with Jamie out there though, because it's just like
yeah, probably.
it's like that. The English sense of humor is just like
Yeah.
it's unfiltered.
Yeah, no,
It's
definitely.
like
Me and Simon are throwing around off f bombs, and he's also
yeah,
into
yeah.
motorcycles and shit. So I used
You
to
know when
work.
an English person really likes you because they're going to call you.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
won't. They'll call you
yeah,
the C word.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
when that's when they, and if you
Yeah,
called anyone that in the US, it's just like you. It's
yeah,
all
yeah,
over, right?
yeah, yeah. You're walking out the room pissed off. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
get
but
you.
if an Englishman calls you that, then
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
that actually they really like you. Then
yeah, yeah, totally. Well, he stopped drinking and he stopped smoking. So like when I first
yeah,
started
yeah.
meeting him, when I first started talking to him at some of these conventions when he was coming to this side. My dream was like, oh, I gotta meet up with Bisley after the show and go get some beers at a pub.
And it was
And
all
like
over.
now it's like it's a miss that window, But he'll call me on
Same.
on WhatsApp and we're like cracking up and he's laughing and he's I'm throwing
It's the
the
same with
yeah,
me, man. It's like that. It's like it's done. I mean,
yeah,
I feel like I've done. I managed to consume the all of my lifetime's worth of drugs and
yeah,
alcohol and partying
yeah.
by the time I was in my mid 40s, and it was like, yeah, I'm done.
There you go.
My liver was like, it's up to you. We can
Yeah,
carry on and end it early,
yeah, yeah.
or or we can just leave it here. Yeah, no, it's done, man. I'm not really interested in getting shit faced anymore.
Yeah, now it's all about the long the stamina side of it. We gotta stick around for as long as we can, man.
Yeah, and I found out. I mean, I found other practices as well. It's like I'm not.
Yeah.
This is a whole other long conversation, but I'm a long. I have a long term meditation practice, and
Nice.
I found all altered states of consciousness through other practices now, and that's
Nice. Okay.
kind of what I. That's what I
Like
was always looking for
you
with
talking about
taking
you talking about some TM stuff or just like finding
Buddhist
yourself.
Buddhist. So
Okay.
I practice like
There you go.
simple everyday raw awareness.
Good. I
That's
like
it.
I respect it, man. I respect it.
Yeah. So all I was always like, that I think like taking those. I was never taking like drugs. But obviously, I was partying as well. But I was always interested in that altered state of consciousness for the expanded experience of reality as well. So I
Yeah.
always, I was influenced by the US counterculture, by the Learys, by Ginsberg, by
I was about to say you're at the age where you were definitely going to the clubs and doing it, taking
oh yeah,
LSD and this and that
yeah, yeah.
in the early
Well,
'90s. That hit
again,
in America in the early '90s.
it's like yeah, like it's like the freebies are on this side, and then on this
Yeah, yeah,
side it says the 50 best clubs.
yeah,
Like
yeah, 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 yeah,
this is like
yeah,
I'm it's like I missed punk. My punk was rave,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's like I'm the hit.
Prodigy, all that shit. I
Yeah,
see it. Yeah,
yeah,
I totally
yeah.
see
So
it.
we were taking a few E's.
Yeah, no, I think yes. See, yeah, we were getting all he was coming from over you by you guys,
No,
and
yeah,
first,
from yeah.
and then the scene went to shit, and it was all like hard drugs, like Special K and all that shit, and then everything kind of
That
took
al-
that
but
road.
that always happens, right? I mean, that
Yeah, it
happened.
ruined it.
That happened in San Francisco in the '60s.
Yeah,
It's like it's good for like 6 months, and
yeah,
then it's like all the heavy shit moves in.
yeah.
That's just the way it goes. I mean, drugs, man. The
Yeah,
fucking
it sucks.
the, you get,
I still love house music, like Chicago house
yeah,
and
yeah.
like
Mitch, the
deep
best.
house and
Yeah, yeah.
stuff like that. A little bit of drum and bass
Yeah,
to do
and
my work
Whitey's
too.
that character. I mean, that character that's Whitey's thing. Whitey's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
flubber. That's
yeah,
I love that about her. She that like through her, I get to go
yeah,
back and reflect upon that experience and what it
mm,
meant to be that. That's who she is. You know,
yeah,
she's a superhero, but she's just that she's a fucking party head.
yeah. Well, listen, man. Let's wrap this
Yeah,
up.
man. Let's wrap it up.
Let's keep it short and sweet. I do appreciate you taking the time.
Short and sweet at 110 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, right. Well, I just
Yeah, only not.
it'll archive on the page, so I'm glad it'll go
I
up. There's
love
a
it.
lot. I don't know if you're aware, but today there's a lot going on in the states. There's like a bunch of protests in every state, and
Yeah, I
so
know. Yeah, I know. I know. I mean,
yeah,
you can't. It's like it's like it's like through social media. It's like you can't not be aware
yeah,
of American politics. You know, it's like
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It's crazy. So at
Good
least we
luck out
got
there,
this in.
man.
Yeah, we got this in, man.
Good.
You know how to get at me. We can always talk about things, and
Yeah, love it.
if there's any way, man, for me to weave something into your projects in the future, dude, like a cover or something, just by all means, man, we
We'll
gotta talk.
talk. Yeah, I love
Yeah,
to
man,
talk about it. I love to talk about it. And look, if anyone dropped any questions in while we were talking, I didn't see them, but I'll have a
nah,
look through I'll have
yeah,
a, if any, and I'll have a look through the chat and stuff afterwards as well. I'll answer some things.
yeah. I think we were just dictating and talking as people were in and out just watching, but a couple
Yeah.
friends popped in. But yeah,
All right, brother.
this will go up into the archives on on my channel, and dude,
I
if
love
you have
it.
any more promotional shit, just reach out. I can help you steer a little bit
Yeah,
my way.
man. I love it. I appreciate it. I
Yeah,
appreciate
man.
you. It's good to speak
Yeah,
in person in person rather than just be typing to each other.
for
It's
sure,
good.
brother. Yeah, man. Be
I
safe.
appreciate you putting this together.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you.
blessings, and
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
talk on the other end, man. Thanks
You
everybody
know
for
it.
chiming in. We'll talk soon, brother.
Cheers, man.
Peace.